You're tuning in to Stellar Cycles, hosted by Alina
and Eva Brown. Join us weekly as we delve into the science, spirituality, and cultural significance of our feminine cycles.
Get ready to align with your natural rhythms, take charge of your patterns, and embrace a holistic approach to feminine wellness. Are all systems go?
All systems go.
Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Stellar Cycles, episode 4. The fourth episode is going to talk about the 4 phases that comprise the female cycle. Our goal with this episode is to continue laying groundwork by introducing our audience to the 4 components of the entire cycle: menstrual, follicular, ovulatory, and luteal, and what processes occur during each one, as well as how to begin syncing your life and activities to these phases.
That sounds perfect. Let's get into that.
Yeah, well, before that, do you have any current updates, Eva?
I always do. I also would be curious, I have a lot of business updates, so I don't know if anyone ever wants to know those, but if they do, I'll start sharing them. I think I'm just going to go over a book club that I just enrolled in, and the book that we're reading is Jay Shetty, 8 Rules of Love.
I've heard of it. He's been all over everyone's podcast recently promoting this book, so I definitely want to read it.
Yeah, I highly recommend. He has a really interesting take on that. I'm reading another book, Conversations with God, that I am absolutely obsessed with. I think anyone, whatever religion they are, they would really relate to what's in there, and it's a book I'm actually going to listen to probably twice a year. It goes over everything: your relationships, the world, spirituality, all of it. And other updates that I have, I am in my follicular phase this week, and that's making me feel very confident. I've had really great business meetings this week, closed some huge deals, so that's really exciting. Thank you so much, follicular phase.
You've definitely had a lot more energy.
I have. It's noticeable, right? You know me. I'm very, I cater to my energy levels. And then the other updates that I have for you guys, I'm really excited for Jasmine to start working with us. We onboarded her this week. She is working on a special journal planner for all of us ladies that we can use to track our lives, journal what we're going through, our emotions, where we're at in our cycle, and of course track your cycle. Excited for that to come out. She'll also be helping out with graphics here shortly. But if you guys have seen any of the graphics lately, shout out to Alina, who always has her visuals on point.
Thank you. We're just getting into it. So, it's just a way of having fun and just putting some stuff together visually for you guys that goes along with what we talk about on this audio podcast before we have the video in YouTube, and that's just going to get even more visually encompassing. So that's really exciting. Thank you, Eva.
Seeing the baby steps of everything, but it looks already amazing to myself. And also big thank you, Alina, for writing all of these outlines. The editing on the videos is amazing. I know that takes a lot of work. You literally learned this from zero, and I just think you do a better job than professionals out there.
Thank you. Thank you. Hopefully the professionals can take over in a little bit, because it is a lot, but we're just carving out kind of what our signature style is for now, and just creating a format, and then hopefully later on we'll be able to hand these jobs off to other people and create more work for others.
That's always the plan.
Yes.
We love to delegate.
Love it. Delegation is key. For me, I've been testing my ovulation. I'm in my ovulatory phase, so I've been just actually doing those pee strips that they check for the luteinizing hormone. We talked about it last week, and that's the hormone that makes the egg pop out and create the process of ovulation. So I think that my ovulation was yesterday, because the day before that was my peak test result. So that's been really interesting. Yeah, and I've been keeping track just to see if I have a decent length luteal phase, because I think luteal phase can matter. And you guys, we're going to talk about what all of these things mean. I'm just getting into what I've been doing for my own health recently. With that being said, I also have some March health goals that I want to make good on. We talked about the hormonal testing. We talked about gut testing. For me, that looks like a food sensitivity test to see if there's anything that's actually like causing me any trouble or if I'm just imagining all of it.
I doubt it.
You're right. But yeah, we've just been actually comparing and researching like what are the best at home kits versus like going to a lab. So we're in on that search. Personally, we're going to be doing that hopefully this month or next month, and we'll have, you know, some tips and advice for you guys too if you want to get into that for yourselves.
Definitely give them a great Excel sheet of all the places we looked at.
A little spreadsheet, pros and cons. And another thing is me and Eva, we saw an ad for a little Joshua Tree women's kind of spiritual retreat. And we were like, do we want to go? We've kind of been wanting to go for a little bit. We've been looking for something like this, but then we thought about it and we were like, what if we just organize one ourselves and have a little stellar cycles in the desert, spaceship, UFO vibes, exactly. So it's a little idea, but we're going to be working on that. Who knows? It might take a few months. It might take till next year, but I think we're very excited to organize a little stellar cycles retreat in Joshua Tree.
Retreat? Yeah. In a few months. It'll be like 10 women.
Right? Yeah, about 10 to 15 I think would be a good amount.
So excited.
And finally, I've officially changed my name. I got my social security card. Yes, my last name, I went from Nestoruk to Souza since I got married in last year. Now I've got to change all the other IDs, like my passport, my DMV card. Did I really call my driver's license my DMV card? My driver's license. So it's just extra motivation for me to get hotter and look good on my IDs because I know the TSA agents are judging me every time.
They're going to see a noticeable upgrade between last names.
Between last names and between looks too, hopefully. You know, I've been working on my inside self for so long that I want to work on my outside a little bit now too.
You get to have it all.
So let's head into this conversation, you guys. So we're going to be talking about the 4 phases of the female cycle. There's 4 distinct phases and situations kind of going on during your monthly cycle. So I think it's first really important to make the clarification to really get clear on the distinction between what the cycle is and what the period is, because I think a lot of women use that interchangeably. Like I'll hear someone say, oh, I'm on my cycle right now. Well, you're kind of always on your cycle. How would you make that differentiation, Eva, if you were trying to explain it to someone?
I mean, period's your menstrual. Like that's when you're really bleeding. You always say it's so lovely. I think like the lining sheds from our, our uterus. And triggers the period. And your cycle is, like you said, it's something that we are always aligned with. We're always on our cycle. You just, the phases change depending on where you're at.
Right. So like a really good example of this would be like a year is a cycle. It's a cycle around the sun. But within that 1 year, you have 4 different phases. You have spring, you have summer, you have fall, and you have winter. But, you know, you're never off of that cycle. You know, you're always cycling around the sun.
That's a great analogy. I love the visual.
Just to kind of hammer that home, a cycle, it's like the ongoing process throughout your month, which has 4 phases. And those 4 phases are the menstrual, follicular, ovulatory, and luteal.
How would you break these phases down into the seasons? Like if I were to compare it to... like menstrual, maybe there's winter.
Menstrual would be like the winter. Okay. Follicular would be kind of like your spring. Ovulatory is the summer, and luteal is the fall. And I'll kind of get into a little more.
It matches perfectly.
I'll show what characterizes each of these phases to make them really symbolize like those seasons and why like follicular is a lot like spring, why ovulatory is a lot like summer, and so on and so forth. So again, cycle, it's like that ongoing process. You're always on it. And period is that bleeding part of your cycle, which is one of the 4 phases, that menstrual phase, and it only lasts a few days out of the entirety of your cycle.
So you guys might ask why it's important to know of and align with your 4 phases. And really it's because you want to look at it like a blueprint for organizing your entire life.
A cheat sheet. It really is.
Literally. I mean, we always would talk about it a year ago when you and I started doing this. We felt like we had a cheat sheet for our lives. We were hacking into everything.
We
Everything
really did start doing this a year ago. That's crazy.
Yeah. It's been a game changer for us
It has
too.
been.
We're like happier women. So another thing it can really help with is, I don't know if you guys have, well, I think everyone goes through this when you feel lost, disorganized, a little bit directionless. We all go through those times in our lives. And since tuning into my cycles, I understand that one phase out of every month, I am going to feel a little directionless, a little lost, fatigued, and that's perfectly normal and okay. And
because in a few days,
yes,
you're going to feel ambitious,
yes,
you're going to feel driven, and you don't have to like lock into that current feeling because you know that there's a time
phases
for everything.
Yes, like there's a time for winter, there's a time for spring and for summer. And since you and I have tapped into that philosophy a year ago, I've noticed with both of us, we really go with the ebbs and flow. We're
much less rigid,
yes,
much less reactive.
Control, yes, we let things happen to us, flow through us. Emotions can come and flow out of us. And I mean, if you're not already sold on why you should have your be in tune with your 4 phases, then
well, keep listening.
Yeah.
Eva, would you say that this can work for everyone? What if someone's listening and they're like, this sounds great, but it also sounds like fantasy, fairy tale land. This won't work for me and my condition. This won't work for me and like the things that I've been dealing with for months, for years. Can this really work for everyone?
Yes. I mean, well, we know it can. We know that this is the root of pretty much everything, especially in the women's world. Again, like we always talk about how the world now today is kind of set up a little bit more for men and their hormone system, not really set up for women. And it's important that we start to lean into this because that's really the root of everything. If you can learn this, you're going to fix anything else that you have going on.
Honestly, I think by leaning into it too, we will begin to carve out space for how we function in the world and lead to a better world.
It makes us a better person too, right? Because they always say like self-love is really putting yourself first, like treating yourself as if like you are like, so the Holy Spirit is naturally within us, and it's really important for us to put that first, and by doing so we naturally become better people. Putting so much in myself, and naturally it helps my friendships, my relationships work, and if I didn't do that, I wouldn't have great relationships or anything else.
Because when you have, this goes back to our second episode, when you have that deep-rooted self-love and self-respect, the way you look at other people also changes. You also see them as a child of God. You also look at them as with love and respect. But when you hate on yourself and you're constantly beating yourself down, of course you're not going to have much love for other people either.
Exactly. Or like if you're feeling like you're constantly like trying to swim upstream because you're trying to fight against your cycle, you're trying to work hard on a day when you're in your luteal phase and you're tired. So of course it like doesn't feel aligned.
So yeah, this can really work for everyone. If you're a woman, here's the thing, you guys. You have essentially the same functioning endocrine hormone system. So we all come with the same parts. But the thing is, those parts and those communications between those parts get thrown out of whack based on stress, based on trauma, based on lifestyle decisions and behaviors. So while your results might vary depending on your symptoms or what you're actually trying to solve with this, any woman is able to harness the predictable cyclical nature of her hormones to begin to work repairing them. It's the patterns that mean everything.
Yes, that was so well put. Let's clip that. Absolutely, patterns are everything. I honestly don't even think we need to continue. That was probably perfect for me. Now let's launch into what is the first phase of our cycle.
We're just going to say that the menstrual phase is the first phase of the cycle because the first day of your bleed is cycle day 1. It's what kickstarts your cycle back over. It's what restarts the cycle. So it's like if you're looking at a cycle like a ring or a circle, it's kind of like where it starts over.
Great, I see that. What hormones are in play at this time?
The hormones actually are the least active during this time because while they were working at different levels throughout your 4 phases throughout the month, this is the time where they've all now dropped off, and this is what triggers the bleed. So your progesterone drops. Again, that corpus luteum, which is that little area where the egg burst from, if you're not pregnant, it just gets reabsorbed back into the body. It stops making progesterone. That drop in progesterone triggers the period, the bleed, the shedding of your uterine lining. Estrogen peaks and then drops, so this stimulates your brain to kind of know that there's going to be another ovulation cycle to get ready for once your period is done.
Very cool. As you're speaking, I'm literally visualizing everything dropping off and coming in like a little circle.
Perfect. Yeah, it's literally a cascade. It's a trickle-down effect. So, when the estrogen drops off, then your hypothalamus, it knows that it's time to prepare for that new maturing cycle of a new egg. And when your period starts and you get that feeling of like relief from like whatever PMS symptoms you were having, maybe you were cranky, maybe you were super irritable, you weren't dealing with stress really well. And the moment that your period starts, it's like super relieving. It's like, oh, I don't feel that way anymore. And this is because your estrogen peak passes. And so once it all drops off, you're kind of like, ooh, okay.
I do always feel that way. And it's funny because growing up, before there was any education about this, I always thought that during my menstrual phase, that's when PMS started.
Mm-hmm.
But it's so interesting because even now as an adult, I realize that I never had PMS
during the actual period, the bleed.
It was always before. And even now as an adult, I have PMS before my luteal phase, which we'll get to. That's the last one. So
yes.
Just envision a circle. You'll see it's all connected.
It all leads back into this. So yeah, if you do feel like that kind of sense of relief once your period starts and you're just kind of like, oh, oof, that's why I was, all over the place and this and that. That's because the estrogen peaks and then drops. Nice. So you're chilling.
And I love that process of just letting go. Like, of course, that tension releases because you're dropping all of your blood. You're shedding your lining, as you like to say.
There's also, obviously, we all know there's some things happening in your body, too.
Like dark red spotting or maybe light, redder blood, you'd say. Like, how we'll make a graphic.
Yeah, there's honestly, there's different ranges of the shade of that your blood can be.
That's speaking to you. It's always
yes, it does have a meaning, and we can make an episode about just that too.
If you guys would love an episode on bodily fluids, there's actually a lot to talk about.
There's so much. It's literally like so key to your health, and it literally just sends you messages about your body.
Yeah, we'll continue this. I'll tell them about other books later. But pelvic cramping is a big one. Lower back pain, fatigue, cravings, specific food cravings. It's always going to be different for each person.
Which one do you struggle with the most?
I really have been blessed this past year since just really
aligning
into my body. Yeah, and I mean, that this started for me like 2-3 years ago after reading that book, Body Keeps the Score, where I was like, oh, I gotta listen to everything it does. So since then, I got off birth control and really started keying into my body. In the beginning, it actually made me like really emotional. But what was interesting, when I was on birth control, I didn't, I was just always overwhelmed all the time. I kind of had anxiety a lot. And no one would know this. Like, I think like a lot of people, we internalize it.
Was this right before you got off of it or immediately after you got off of it?
Before, when I was on it, I was just overwhelmed with my emotions. And then after I got off of it, I had that one emotional month, which is super normal. And then from there, light cramping. It took me a while to get the hormones back under control. But now my periods are like anywhere from 3 to 5 days, typically not too heavy. Minor cramping in my like lower pelvic region, nothing too insane, but I get hella tired.
Okay.
I just want to sleep and relax. Don't talk to me.
Yeah, and there's a reason for that too. We'll get down to that point in the outline. In the menstrual phase, it also, your energy levels, like you're saying, it affects the types of plans you want to be making too. During this time, when you're on your bleed and you're on your period, the first phase of your cycle, it's a really great time for self-analysis and course correction. So it's a really good time to kind of like audit yourself, where your life is at, where you want it to go, check out that gap and see how you can close it. This is because it is the time of your cycle where the connection between your right hemisphere of your brain and your left hemisphere of your brain are the strongest.
Whoa.
Isn't that crazy?
I love.
So it makes you have a really fair and unbiased evaluation of how you're doing in life.
So we're actually more emotionally stable and grounded.
Right.
If we choose to be, right?
Mm-hmm.
If we actually connect those neurons within
Exactly.
our body and let it flow.
If you hack into that.
In our period. Like, we're PMSing.
Yeah, and oh, she's a crazy woman, on her period. Don't let her anywhere near a decision.
And really what's happening is both her hemispheres
are like
connecting,
firing
and she's like,
super
no,
well.
This is the way that it needs to be. Her intuition speaking to her, and people are like, no, where are all these clear thoughts coming from? Love that. Own your period, ladies.
Yeah, so when you're, taking some time to yourself, and if you're staying away from activities that might be taking a little bit more energy, you're not really doing this on your period, take that time to go inward and do some really deep reflection on, this cycle came to an end. Am I still in the same place that I was a month ago, 3 months ago, or have I made progress? Obviously celebrate the progress that you've made, but also really analyze, where do I need to go next? This is a really good time because you're very clear on the intuition and gut connection too. So there's, the vagus nerve that goes between your gut and your brain. It's working really good during this time. So ask yourself, which areas of your life need more attention? You'll get clear messages on this around this time. So apply the solutions you come up with now during the later phases of your cycle. Whatever you come up with right now, don't feel the pressure to carry it out, make it happen. Just kind of hold on to those things, and then you'll be able to implement them a week or two down the road.
Oh, I love that you said that, because sometimes it's not always about immediate action,
or an immediate fix.
Right. It's just a state of awareness, and then you can let everything align gently. Like, not everything needs to happen right away, and you want to just put things in motion for them to work out for you. And I think it's a good segue into speaking about their diet around this phase. But I wanted to just quickly talk about, when you're mentioning the gut connection, I think that's why diet is so important, why everything really is cyclical. Everything is kind of connected to each other. And the better that we eat, the better it can take care of us in different phases. So the reason why, during the menstrual phase, this is really important, is your diet is eliminating the uterine lining, which is an intense process. It takes about 30 to 40% of your energy. So focusing on eating the foods that are replenishing your nutrients is key here.
Because your body's working really, really hard to get that stuff out. It built a house for a baby all month long. There's no baby. It's mad about that. And that's where, the cramping that a lot of us struggle with comes into play, because it really takes a lot of your body's energy and effort. And again, energy reserves to get it all out of you. So there's absolutely no wonder why women do feel depleted and tired and lack of energy during this time.
Completely. And then what foods do you normally like to eat during this time?
During this time, I do like to intake things that are high in minerals, vitamins. So dark leafy kale, we know that has iron in it. It's going to replenish the iron lost in your blood when you're bleeding. Love mushrooms. Mushrooms have vitamin D. Love me anything seaweed related. So nori, I'm usually crunching on those dry seaweed things. Those are just a few examples. I also really like soups too, because it's really warming and grounding too during the period. And if you think about it being like winter, the menstrual phase being the winter of your cycle, you want to think about, what do you like to eat during the winter time? What's warming to your soul? What's grounding? Root vegetables are great.
Anything in the ground. Everything in life between our food and seasons is really connected. So even the words you're using right now, if you were to look on a chart, basically all of the grounded root vegetables, potatoes, sweet potatoes, squash, carrots. God made it really easy for us.
Things like seafood and sea-based veggies are really good during this phase because they help remineralize your body with iron and zinc, which you lose during bleeding. Mm-hmm. So oysters are a good thing to eat during your menstrual phase.
Happy hour oysters.
The menstrual phase foods are really focused on restoring your blood and your kidneys, and also just comforting you overall. So things like soups, like stews.
All those foods are great. I also like to add cinnamon in. That's a huge. I see that everywhere. When it comes to you being on your period, add cinnamon into your tea or milk, and just drink a little bit of that every day. Lastly, I want to wrap this up with letting you guys know that we actually have this great grocery guide that will help you balance your hormones. This is something that Alina and I have used this entire year when we started getting into following, like, intuitively eating. And it's broken down to the 4 phases, and you guys can download this guide. We'll post the link in our show notes. Refer to it when you are planning your meals for the week.
Yeah, you guys definitely check out, if you haven't already, our landing page. You can sign up with your email and you'll get that grocery guide sent right over. So because your body is in the state of replenishing, remineralizing, restoring, your activity levels are also going to want to reflect that. Most people, this already comes pretty natural to you. You're gonna want to hermit crab away and not really want to be around other people or do really socially demanding events. But if you don't already do that, and again, this is the issue with so many women taking on way more than they should and not being able to say no, is that rest and recovery are so vital for your body to repair itself. So when you're in your menstrual period, don't feel bad for taking at least the first 1 or 2 days off for yourself, especially if you get pretty bad symptoms or really heavy bleed. You don't really need to be putting out fires for other people during this time or dealing with delicate matters. It's just not the best time to do it. It's the best time to kind of go inward and reflect on how you're going to do better in a week or 2. In the early part of the period, again, you're going to be super low on energy, so don't push yourself to work out super hard like you would at other phases. Number 1, your body's not going to gain a whole lot of benefit from you doing that. You're going to burn yourself out. You're going to use energy that you already are kind of low on. So what we recommend doing during your menstrual phase in order to stay active and keep moving is yin yoga. You can do walks. If you are comfortable with tampons and you are cool with going in the water when you're on your period, that doesn't bother you at all. Swimming can also be pretty alleviating to cramps and lower back pain. Just anything that focuses on the hips. Getting those hips fluid and moving will help your period symptoms.
There's really great dances you can do, just just circulating your hips around and kind of just looking really, having a funny moment in your bathroom with yourself for 2 minutes will do wonders for your flow.
Yeah. During the last part of your menstrual cycle, when you're nearing the end of your period, you can totally get more active if you feel your energy coming back and you want to get back into whether it's Pilates that you love, whether it's weight training. Just kind of start lightly incorporating that back into your routine. Again, if you've been on a rest for a few days, you don't want to try to make yourself enter back in at that same spot where you left off. That could be pretty hard on your body.
Right. And then once you pick up more energy, you're going to be leading into your second phase, which is your follicular phase. This is when the follicles start forming their little sacs that contain your eggs and your ovaries. They begin to swell up, and in 7 to 10 days, you will... What happens in 7 to 10 days?
So this is the 7 to 10 day period called the follicular phase. Like Eva said, it's a kind of growth period of your eggs. Like we said in the previous podcast episode, you are born with all of the eggs that you'll ever have in your life. And when you start puberty and you start getting your period and ovulating, every single month, your body grows several of these eggs, and only one normally pops out ready.
Thank you.
So the hormone focus, you're welcome. You're welcome. Hormone focus here during the follicular phase. Your ovaries get the message that it's time to start feeding the eggs, getting them ready, growing them. They start to swell. And again, that follicular stimulating hormone is kind of like the food for the eggs. It gets them big and ready. And since estrogen is made by the ovaries, estrogen begins to rise and starts to build up that uterine lining again. You know, you lost it on your period. Now it's time to start building it back up again. In your body, you're going to feel that energy increase. You may feel restless, peppy, like you said. Right now, you're in your follicular phase. You have that uptick in energy. You want to do more things. You might start noticing your discharge might be kind of whitish or yellowish at this phase in your cycle.
So during this phase, and I notice all of those things, of course, and my plans during this phase, because I have that uptick in energy, I'm a lot more creative and I'm able to take on more stimulating projects like this one. This is the time when I'm brainstorming. I am taking on my most challenging assignments this week, really because it's just easier for me to problem solve. My physical energy is really at an all-time here, so I will make sure to work out. I'm saying yes to plans. I'm very upbeat, positive, just truly revitalized, and this is where I'm just setting up my week, my month.
So if you need Eva to do something for you, definitely get her in her follicular phase.
It's so true. And
Awesome.
What about diet?
For diet, let's look at it this way. You have a lot of natural energy in this phase. So you don't really need to be eating foods that are going to weigh you down. You want to keep your diet fresh, vibrant, kind of lively foods that give you energy here while your hormones are still picking up. They're going to peak at the ovulation point, but here you're really feeling that up ramp. Again, this goes back into spring. Think about what kind of foods you would eat in the spring. Those leafy greens, salads, those Thai fresh spring rolls, not the fried ones, but like those see-through rice paper ones. That could be a great one. Pressed salads, seeds, lean proteins. So we're talking things like eggs, we're talking things like chicken, sprouted beans and seeds, and energy sustaining grains. So that could be wheat, that could be rye.
Quinoa?
Quinoa comes in the next phase.
Got it.
You want to cook your food lightly during this time, steaming or sauteing. Again, you don't want to make things too heavy for your system during this phase. And what's cool about this is that the foods that you eat in the follicular phase prepare your body for the next phase, the ovulatory phase. Avocados are great for this transition. They help in making that cervical mucus, that sticky mucus discharge that you get at mid-cycle. So what's really cool about these foods is that while they help you in the current phase that you're at, they also prepare for what's going to happen in the next one.
And if you have your diet all locked in, then moving into your activity, this is truly the time to start a new exercise or try new workout routines. Go to group classes.
Switch it up.
Yes, yes.
Your brain's way more accepting to trying new things at this time.
Right, your little neural connections. Love those guys. And with that, let's move into our next phase, which would be ovulation.
Ovulation, it's not as long as the other phases. So like we said, menstrual can last anywhere from like 3 to 7 days. It can sometimes last longer for some women. The follicular phase lasts anywhere from 7 to 10 days. Now, ovulatory phase, it's about 3 to 4 days because it's just like right before, during, and like just the day after, like 12 to 24 hours after your ovulation. So it's really only a 3 to 4 day window.
And what are your hormones doing at this time?
So at this time, there's that sharp spike in FSH, the egg food, because it really wants to make sure that they're ready to go. And then the luteinizing hormone, which I was saying I test for on my ovulating strips, is what spikes when it releases the egg from the ovary. It lets it go so it can be fertilized. If it gets fertilized, it should travel through the fallopian tubes into the uterus where it will likely implant.
Oh, baby.
If that's what you want. Estrogen is still rising during this time, preparing the uterine lining. Another thing that estrogen does is it supports the growth of immune system cells in the uterus.
Whoa. And what's going on with testosterone at this time?
Right. So at this time, this is kind of where you get a quick surge of testosterone. It is the reason why you feel your energy levels at the top during the midpoint of your cycle. You might be training a little harder. You might have just overall most energy to do anything. You might feel a little more sexually inclined because of the testosterone. Isn't it crazy that we as women, we get some of that too, to kind of make sure that mating happens, and that the genes get passed on? Super cool.
I think your pheromones even are a little bit more active during that time.
Exactly. Your body is aligning basically everything. We'll talk about that on the next point, but I wanted to mention this one thing. You actually lose more than one egg every cycle. Did you know that?
I think you told me that.
I think we didn't really go into it that last time, but I did some research and I can now kind of talk about why. So you know how when your your FSH is growing multiple eggs, preparing it for ovulation, but only one pops out. So those other ones that were growing, but they didn't mature or ovulate, they die off. Like they're not able to be used again, but they like kind of die off. And the next cycle, it's like it starts making new ones.
So cool that our body naturally gives us
multiple chances.
Yes, yeah. And then it naturally picks the best one to release.
Isn't that crazy?
Love you, body. Thank you for doing all of this for us.
Right. But that's why it's also important to know kind of your ovarian reserve. If you are someone who wants to have your own children naturally and you want to know what your egg count is, this and that, it's important to know how much eggs you're losing with every ovulation because that number increases with age.
Right. And you just really want to know the number because if you're aware, you can plan.
Exactly. Then you have more options.
What you want to do is just not be prepared and then find out you only have a year or something.
Exactly.
Do you want to talk about what the body's doing?
Pheromones, everything that nature does has things aligning in your body to make you hotter, to make sure you get attention. So like your hair actually
glow up.
Yeah, the ovulation glow up is real because your skin kind of clears up around this time. Your hair will get shinier. Your hips will actually widen slightly to make you more attractive. And
skin's glowing.
The skin is glowing. You are...
And also you have that radiant energy.
Confidence.
You are at a higher, you're kind of at a higher level right now.
Is that what it feels like to be a man? Because testosterone going?
That's why they're so confident.
No, it has to be.
You have to figure it out.
And your vaginal discharge during this time, during the ovulation period, changes from that kind of white creamy consistency to that clear, slippery, egg white consistency. And it increases in output. After the peak day of your ovulation, the vaginal discharge kind of starts drying out. So you're really not as wet as you were all the way leading up to that.
I love that. I feel and see and experience all of that. Looking at my bodily fluids through the different phases of my cycle means the world to me. I can pick up.
You can literally tell where you're at. Yeah.
Oh, I might be a little fertile today.
What's really cool about ovulation is that many girls and women do feel a tinge of pelvic pain when their egg gets released. Have you ever felt that?
Oh my God, I didn't know that, but yeah, I do.
Because it's every month. It's midway through your cycle and you're like, ooh, what's that, right?
Cool.
I haven't felt it in a little bit, so that kind of freaks me out, but hopefully it's just because I'm not paying attention, because I really did used to feel it.
I was going to say, yeah, maybe just honestly with everything with the podcast, I might be stressed a little.
Yeah, and I am tracking my LH. I am making that luteinizing hormone, so it does release something. So yeah, that pain is called Mittelschmerz, when you can feel your little egg popping out of your ovary. And what's cool is that the ovaries will usually alternate, so they'll take turns. So 1 month it'll be the left one, the next month it'll be the right one.
Love our bodies.
Yeah. And you might also feel either a surge of energy or a sense of depletion during this time, depending on which day you're at. So your plans when you're on your ovulatory phase, Eva, I know it's the best time for you to have challenging conversations, to speak up, to ask for a promotion, ask for a raise.
Yes.
And that's because we're just better at communicating, connecting with community during this phase, and connecting with and being more receptive towards others.
And more magnetic. I mean, my meetings are a lot easier when I am at this frequency and my pheromones and my body's just working in my favor. So
you really feel like a corporate man.
But I mean, it's a man's world, and you go in as a woman, and you are in flow with your cycles, and you can turn into a woman's world, baby.
Right, and you can use that one like time where you're, you do have something that they have, testosterone, and you can use that to ask for a promotion or a raise.
Absolutely.
You just blend into their world for a second, come right back out.
So this is a big hack, ladies. Make sure to do that.
Ask for stuff when you're ovulating. Trust us.
Yeah. So going into, is it okay that we go and hop into the diet now?
Totally, yeah. And also, just to wrap that up, the reason that you are more open to riskier things is because your testosterone is surging during your ovulatory phase. Ain't that neat?
Yeah. I wish we could have more testosterone a few other days. But God set it up this way. I mean, I'm sure it is because men and women are meant to be in partners together, and you want your men to have all that testosterone. I mean, if I have to choose between me or him going out into the world and braving new adventures, I would rather have it be my boo. And I'll stay in the house and keep it safe.
Exactly.
So leading to the diet, you have lots of natural energy and a stable mood thanks to estrogen. So limit intake of carbs, stick to lighter grains like corn and quinoa.
Right, so if you're going for heavier carbs, and it's just going to bind with the estrogen, make it stick around in your system longer. Remember, we kind of want to keep that estrogen moving and grooving out of your systems. Your natural energy is at its top at this point, right? So let's think about it that way. You don't need to give yourself a ton of carbs, which give you energy. You can stick to the lighter ones like corn and quinoa.
Exactly. You'll still get your carbs with that. And of course, loading up on vegetables and fruits. They help metabolize and eliminate the surplus of estrogen.
All that fiber just keeps it moving. Again, you can check out our grocery guide for the ovulatory foods. They're all about promoting the blood flow, and they're popular for their antioxidant powers and well-being for the ovaries, so you can really make the healthiest egg possible during this ovulatory stage.
We'll definitely have an episode on that, because that's basically why we're all here in this world is due to healthy eggs. So
the eggs that made it.
The best survive. So foods that keep estrogen-related symptoms at bay, like acne or bloating.
Probably like omega-3s, so like fish. Fish is great during the ovulatory phase.
I have a great omega-3 vitamin, by the way. If anyone ever would like my vitamin recommendations, I do pride myself in.
We'll put that on the story.
Yes.
Cool. Yeah, and we keep maintaining that lighter food preparation that you did in the follicular phase. You don't really want to be deep frying all this stuff. You want to keep it kind of light because your body is still very energetic and it has all this energy.
What kind of activity do you do with all this energy?
With workouts, this is your best time to do high impact or group setting activities.
Like HIIT?
HIIT is great. Your energy levels are maxed during this time, remember? Testosterone surging, so this is a great time to kind of do your heaviest weightlifting workouts. So you want to be maxing out your weights at this time. Muscle gain is the best because your muscles are repairing themselves around this at this time too. Plyometrics, have you done plyometrics?
I don't think so. Have you?
No, I've just recently heard of it. I'm going to research it a little more.
Let us know.
And running too. Not my favorite form of cardio. I don't really run. I'll do the stair climber. I'll even walk. I'm not going to do running. I can't.
Oh, I used to love it. But now I'm a walker.
Yeah. I want to maintain my joints, I think.
Same.
I'm an old woman. And this is a great time too, if you're thinking socializing. It's a good time to take classes or do kind of your highest social activities because you're really connecting to others, being receptive to them, forming those bonds.
Agreed. And what's the final part of the cycle?
Our very last phase is the luteal phase. Going back to the hormonal episode, progesterone is the main star of this phase, and this phase lasts about 10 to 14 days. It's kind of really about an entire half of your cycle.
It overlaps with the follicular phase.
No, because it starts after you're done ovulating.
Follicular phase actually overlaps with the menstrual
Exactly,
phase.
yes.
We'll save that for later.
We will save that for later because I only just recently got my brain to wrap around that one. I was like, wait, what?
Took me a while. As I was calendar planning this, and now I have it overlapping with my menstrual. Yep. What hormones are at play?
So remember, the corpus luteum is the little vascular bundle that forms on your ovary after the egg, from the place that the egg pops out of. And it starts pumping out progesterone. It keeps that uterine lining intact just throughout this 10 to 14 day phase, just in case you are pregnant and that there's going to be an embryo that implants in there. During this time, that follicular stimulating hormone and luteinizing hormone, they have stopped because their job was really only to release one egg. They don't want to keep working, right? Estrogen is still rising. Now, towards the end of your cycle, if you're not pregnant, there's no implantation that's happened, then that corpus luteum, it gets reabsorbed into the body. This drops off the progesterone because that's what was making the progesterone.
So cool.
And that's what causes you to start your period because it knows that nothing implanted in there.
So cool.
However, if you are pregnant, that corpus luteum, it sticks around to help maintain the embryo and feed it until it develops its own placenta and blood supply. By this point, too, there's like a quick surge and drop in testosterone as well, which could be a cause for that premenstrual PMS acne that some people get, that I definitely get.
Me too. I get it in both stages that we're more prone to break out. During this time with your body, you want to think the fall phase, like autumn. This is when your energy is decreasing. You might have a PMS symptoms at this time, which would be bloating, irritability, headache, mood swings, cravings, all the things I talked about previously. During this time, you want to probably create plans that let you live an easier life this week.
Kind of slow down from all that go, go, go. We're making things happen. We're communicating. We're all over the place. Thing is, women, we're not designed to be like that throughout our entire month. We're really not. Society expects that from us, but we experience such a burnout when we try to operate at that high level all throughout.
Our cycles are truly what connects us to the cycles of the world, because if we didn't have this analogy to compare side by side between the cycle, the phases, and the seasons of a year and our cycles, we would live in a man's world, which is their hormones they change a little bit, but not as drastically as us. But we kind of need this as a reminder to slow down and that there will be winters and summers, and this is just a part of life.
And that there's, again, a time and place for everything. There's a time and place for rest. There's a time and place for you to kind of give attention to yourself. And then there's a time and place to run around and give your best to everyone else. You know, during the year, it happens on a bigger scale, but on the month, it happens on a smaller scale. And it's just an example of what we should be paying attention to. So your plans around your luteal phase, it's all about awareness, attention, and comfort. So these are kind of key features of this phase. Your energy softens, it turns inward. Your desire to nest increases. So this is an ideal time to focus on domestic chores, crossing off that to-do list that was made in the follicular phase, all those ideas that you had popping off to get done. Now is your time to actually start getting them done. The estrogen to progesterone ratio makes you notice what you didn't before, which is another amazing thing. Now there's a cycle where your eyes are opened up to other things. So it's a good time to deal with administrative tasks because you're noticing things that you didn't throughout your cycle.
I'm excited to be a lot more observant about some of these things in my luteal phase. It's all a practice.
I think since I ovulated yesterday, I think I'm now in my luteal phase now. So I'm just like, let me just settle into it. And also nest on an internal level. That means self-care, not just getting things done around the home, but getting things done around your home, your body, your temple. This is a good time to pamper yourself, do your little baths. My period started getting better, you guys, when I stopped expecting it to suck. If that makes sense. Like I would dread it. I'd be like, oh man, like the just the internal dialogue that I had towards it was so mean that of course my uterus was going to be mean to me because it didn't feel that good energy. But I think if you take advantage of your luteal phase to start showing yourself a little extra love, a little extra self-care, your body will feel that and it'll give you an easier period. And not only that, food is medicine, right? So the food that you're going to eat during your luteal phase will really set up your body with the right nutrients and minerals to have an easier period. It's so amazing.
And I remember you made the shift from a bad period to a great period literally in 1 month. Yeah, I think it felt like 1 month, no?
I mean, it was definitely like an up and down journey. It was more of a 2-year. Yeah. Telling you, I think it was definitely like that, but it was like up and down and up and down. There would be a month where I would have like really gnarly cramps, and then it would be like 2 months where I was like fine. But so now we're gonna see if it stays pretty consistent. Cool. You know what I mean? So going into the diet of your luteal phase, having it be the fall, autumn phase, think fall foods. Like what would you eat? The roasted veggies, squashes, pumpkins, vitamin or mineral rich beef to kind of start preparing your body for the blood loss that you're going to have. Foods that are rich in B vitamins, calcium, magnesium, and fiber. Let's break down why these types of foods specifically are going to help you get ready for your period. In PMS symptoms, one of those things is cravings, right? People just want to eat sugar. They're usually reaching for the unhealthy things like the ice cream, the cookies. One really great way to deal with all the sugar cravings that you're having during this phase is to eat the foods that are rich in B vitamins. And that's because it helps stave off the sugar cravings. And the B vitamins, remember how we were talking in our last episode, what can we do to increase the progesterone? The thing that helps us deal with stress, the thing that counterbalances estrogen? Foods that are rich in B vitamins.
Right.
So that's a direct benefit of those types of foods during this phase. Also, leafy greens like kale, bok choy. Well, I don't know. Is bok choy a leafy green or is that one of the other ones in the other phases? That might be more of a summer one. But think like leafy greens like chards, kale. Those things are going to really help deal with the bloating and the water retention. I just learned that yesterday.
Yeah, I love that.
Fiber too, going back to the elimination group, it helps flush out all the excess estrogen in the body during this time. Since you've been making it your entire cycle, this is the last phase of the cycle. Your body has not stopped making estrogen. It's kind of time to start helping it come out naturally.
All right, so a lot of different fruits high in fiber.
Veggies. Yeah. Again, roasted or baked veggies will help with sugar cravings too. This is probably my favorite phase, you guys, because I love me a roasted sweet potato. I could eat that all day, every single day. And also complex carbohydrates. You want to have, if you do eat carbs, you want to eat the ones that will stick around for a long time, give you a good, stable source of energy. And this will keep your dopamine and serotonin up to prevent the mood swings, which is another PMS symptom that so many people deal with.
So complex carbs, aside from sweet potatoes, what else could they eat?
Oh, brown rice or wild rice is really great.
I love black rice or bitter rice, amazing.
I'm really into buckwheat. Super into buckwheat. Buckwheat has iron too, which helps prepare you for losing iron through blood.
Farro, I think, is another Middle Eastern one, really tasty. Let's jump into the activity. Do you want to take this away?
So the first part of your luteal phase, which I'm in now, you may still have enough energy to continue your regular workouts. Now, I'm not going as hard as I was during my ovulatory phase a couple of days ago, but I'm still doing weights, kind of doing, not really forcing myself to go super hard, but still doing weights. I think by next week, I probably will only have energy for like maybe one set of weights just to maintain, but not like a full blown, So yeah, scale down intensity last 5 days before your period. You can turn to walking, Pilates, Vinyasa yoga. Now, if you are in so much pain that you can't do anything during your period, there's absolutely no reason to force yourself to, but I think movement is just so key to maintaining your mental health and just to do something that moves your body, whether it's a 5-minute stretch even. When I'm having a bad day and I notice that I didn't get any movement in, I'll do a stretch. That helps. And also lower resistance exercises are great during the luteal phase, like the elliptical. If you feel sluggish, if you can't really muster up all that energy because you're heading towards that end of your cycle, you can just do lower resistance stuff.
I love an elliptical moment. And before you know it, the cycle restarts again with the menstrual phase at day 1.
Well, that concludes our 4 phases introductory episodes. Honestly, you guys, as you can see, there can be an episode on like every little part of this episode. Like we're going to do an episode for eating during your menstrual cycle. We're going to do an episode for eating during your follicular. We're going to cover as much ground as we possibly can. This was just a way to dip your toe in, and hopefully you learned something new, and hopefully we helped inspire you to start aligning with your natural rhythms and not feel like you have to do everything the same way all the time. That's what men are meant to do.
Exactly. We get to be in flow with our cycle and really listen to our bodies and show up for ourselves, so we can show up our best for other people. And guys, thank you guys so much for listening, sending us so many sweet messages from all of our friends and their friends.
We have felt so much support and love from the feedback from our first couple of episodes. We couldn't even imagine that it could be like this. So thank you guys so much. We're going to get a lot deeper into this. We can't wait to give you more ideas to help you start syncing your cycle. So we'll link the balanced hormone grocery guide in the show notes. Tag us in your cyclical food choices on Instagram. Let us know what foods you're starting to lean towards picking. You don't have to change it all up within the first month. Absolutely don't do that. Start little. Start by incorporating one new thing during your follicular phase, one new thing during your ovulatory phase that you normally wouldn't eat. And before you know it, it'll be easy to turn really big things around.
We can't wait to hear.
We'll chat with you next time.
Bye.
This show is intended for inspiration and entertainment and is not meant to replace your physician's medical advice.
Music by Moon Blue.
Editing by Alina and Eva.